you have more sympathy for the criminal than the victim, don't you?
Senator, I worked on behalf of victims of crime zealously as a prosecutor. As a judge, I listened carefully to understand impact on victims, and I have always take that into account.
Do you know Micah Smith?
Michael Smith, Senator?
Micah, M-I-C-H.
I don't believe I know a Micah Smith, Senator, no.
Okay. I bet the victims of Micah Smith remember Micah Smith if you don't.
Senator, there was a defendant I sentenced named Michael Smith.
Mr. Smith molested a 4-year-old girl, didn't he?
Senator, he was convicted after trial of unlawful sexual contact under Maine law.
That's a nice way of putting it.
That was the charge, Senator.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to America First, where we stand up for truth, justice, and the American way. If you're tired of watching our country's values being trampled on, you've come to the right place. Before we dive into today's topic, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to stay updated on the latest battles for our freedoms, make sure you turn on notifications. Let's fight for America together. All right, folks, today we're talking about a recent Senate hearing where Senator John Kennedy absolutely took a judge nominee to task. If you haven't seen it yet, trust me, you're going to want to watch this one. The video we're covering today is titled, "I Bet the Victims Remember." John Kennedy shows no mercy to judge over her past record, and boy, does he live up to that title. Let's get into it.
Mr. Smith molested a 9-year-old girl, didn't he?
Senator, again, he was convicted of unlawful sexual contact against 2 children. In that case, I did impose the sentence the state requested.
At oral argument, this is how Mr. Smith's conduct was described. Quote, you heard this testimony. All of the abuse is done in the same fashion. Smith would rub his fingers in a circular motion on the vagina of each child, and he did so repeatedly. Now, where I come from, we call that sexual abuse. You can pretty it up all you want to, Judge. This is what you said at Mr. Micah's sentencing. These are your words, not mine. What I can say, you said, is that this is a very tragic situation of a person who has a lot of good in him. A lot of good in him. Having done a very reprehensible thing to 2 young children causing extreme damage. Did I read that correctly?
Senator, in that case, I imposed the sentence the state requested.
Did I read that, your quotation correctly?
Senator, that I think is a portion of what I said at sentencing. My focus was on...
But the words I read, are they correct?
That's what was reported in the paper, Senator. I have not seen a transcript of the sentencing.
I bet the victims remember, Judge. You might have forgotten, just like you forgot his name, but I bet the victims remember. And then you handed down a sentence. You gave Mr. Smith 12 years, but you suspended 6 of them, didn't you?
Senator, that was at the recommendation of the state because
but it was your ruling. Did you? Is that an accurate statement of your ruling?
Senator, I accepted the state's recommendation that 6 years should be suspended so that Mr. Smith would be required to participate in sex offender treatment.
I appreciate the lengthy explanation, but I think it's a pretty simple question. That was your sentence, right?
Yes, I imposed the sentence the state requested in that case.
Are you familiar with the Bangor Daily News?
I am the Bangor Daily News, Senator.
Right. Did you read the article they wrote, quote, light sentences send a message that domestic violence does not matter, end quote. You remember that article?
I have read it, Senator. I believe it mischaracterizes a case that is
That was
described.
article was about you, wasn't it?
My recollection, Senator, is that it described several different cases. The case that I worked on that was described there, the defendant in that case was acquitted by a jury of the most serious conduct, and that was not reflected in that article. And
So the newspaper got it wrong.
that was an op-ed that I believe misunderstood what happened, which is the jury acquitted the defendant of the most serious conduct that he was charged with. I was not the fact finder in that case, and so at sentencing I was bound by the jury's verdict.
Let me ask you, I'm going to run out of time here. I wish I had more time for you, Ms. Campbell, but I've seen a lot of activist judges, and I'm not saying you're the most activist, but the list you're on, it sure doesn't take long to call the roll. Let me finish with this question. I'm going to end as I began, Judge Lopez. You have more sympathy for criminals than victims, don't you?
Senator, I have the support of the Maine Coalition to End Domestic Violence and the Maine Coalition Against Sexual Assault. I believe that support is a reflection of the work I did as a prosecutor, as well as the care I take with cases involving victims as a judge.
You're embarrassed to answer my question, aren't you?
Now, let me set the stage here. Senator Kennedy, a man who never backs down from calling out hypocrisy, questioned this judge, Ms. Campbell, about her sentencing record. And let me tell you, it was brutal. Kennedy came in swinging, and rightfully so. He asked her point blank, "Do you have more sympathy for the criminal than the victim?" And you know what? From her responses, it's hard not to believe that he's absolutely right. Let's talk about this case Kennedy brought up, Micah Smith. This man molested not one, but two young girls. Little girls. Innocent children. And how does this judge respond? She starts by saying she doesn't even remember the guy. Really? You don't remember sentencing a predator who targeted kids? Because I bet the victims remember. I bet their families remember. And I bet anyone with a soul would remember sentencing someone like that. But it doesn't stop there. Kennedy goes on to read her own words back to her from a sentencing. She called Micah Smith's crimes a reprehensible thing, but then, and this is what really gets me, she says he had a lot of good in him. A lot of good in him? Are you kidding me? What good are we talking about here? I'm sorry, but when you molest children, whatever good you might have had is gone. You've forfeited your right to any sympathy. End of story. And then there's the sentence itself. She gave this guy 12 years, but suspended 6 of them. 6 years. That's it. Kennedy points out, that was your ruling, right? And she tries to deflect, saying it was the state's recommendation. But guess what? She's the judge. She's the one who made the final call. She could have thrown the book at him, but she didn't. Why? Because apparently, she thought it was more important for him to participate in some sex offender treatment program. Unbelievable. Let me tell you something, folks. This kind of leniency is exactly why so many Americans are losing faith in our justice system. Judges like this are more concerned about rehabilitating predators than protecting victims. And it's the victims who suffer. Micah Smith's victims will carry the scars of what he did for the rest of their lives, and yet he gets to walk free after just a few years. Where's the justice in that? And then Kennedy brings up an article from the Bangor Daily News that criticized her for giving light sentences in domestic violence cases. What does she do? She immediately starts playing the victim, claiming the article mischaracterized her work. Typical, right? Instead of owning up to her decisions, she blames the media. But here's the thing. The article didn't come out of nowhere. It was based on her record. And if her record shows a pattern of leniency, then maybe the article was spot on. You know what this really comes down to? Weak, activist judges who care more about protecting criminals than protecting victims. Kennedy called her out, saying she's on the list of activist judges, and he's absolutely right. These judges are undermining the rule of law, and it's people like us, hard-working, law-abiding Americans, who pay the price. Listen, I'm not saying everyone deserves to be locked up and the key thrown away. But when it comes to crimes like this, crimes against children, crimes of violence, there should be no leniency. None. Zero. If you hurt a child, you should spend the rest of your life behind bars. Period. And if a judge can't see that, then they have no business sitting on the bench. So here's the deal, folks. This isn't just about one judge or one case. This is about the future of our justice system. Are we going to let activist judges keep putting criminals back on the streets? Or are we going to demand accountability? It's time to stand up and say enough is enough. We need judges who will protect the innocent, not coddle the guilty. Thanks for tuning in to America First. If you're as fired up about this as I am, make sure to share this video with your friends and family. Let's get the word out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Together, we can take our country back. Until next time, stay strong, stay vigilant, and always put America first.